Welcome to Wife Cheating Story. I hope you have an enjoyable and relaxing time listening. Let's get started.
Cheating wife was shocked to learn I was rich. She begged me for money, claiming it was for the kids. In the middle of a brutal war zone, I thought the danger was outside our walls. Turns out, the real betrayal was sleeping beside me. She planned to take our kids and disappear, thinking I was just a poor journalist. What she didn't know? I was hiding a $53 million fortune, and I was about to expose them both in front of the entire diplomatic elite. Stay with me, because this story only gets darker from here. Before we begin, let me know where you're tuning in from down in the comments. And if you enjoy this story, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our next tale. The morning call to prayer echoed across Sana as the sun painted the ancient mud brick buildings in shades of amber and rust. Warren Mitchell pressed his face against the cool window of their third-floor apartment, watching smoke rise from the old city like ghosts ascending to heaven. Another airstrike had hit during the night, close enough to rattle their windows, but far enough to let them sleep through it. "Daddy, are you writing about the bad planes again?" His 8-year-old daughter, Sarah, tugged at his worn cargo pants. Her brother, Lucas, 2 years younger, clutched a stuffed camel that had seen better days. "Just watching the sunrise, sweetheart." Warren lifted her up, her weight nothing compared to the medical supplies he'd hauled through checkpoints yesterday. "See how the light makes everything golden? Even the broken parts look beautiful." "Warren, for God's sake, get away from the window." Veronica's sharp voice cut through the moment. His wife emerged from their bedroom, already dressed in her hospital scrubs, dark circles under her green eyes. "You want to make me a widow? Stand there like a target?" He set Sarah down gently. "The fighting's 5 kilometers east today. We're fine." "Fine?" Veronica's laugh was bitter as burnt coffee. "Look at this place. Look at our lives. Stuck in this hellhole while you chase your little stories that nobody reads. Making what, $300 a month?" Warren turned to face her, noting the new silk scarf around her neck. Turkish silk, if he wasn't mistaken. Expensive. "Where'd you get the scarf?" Her hand flew to her throat. "This? One of the British nurses gave it to me. Said it was too hot for her." She busied herself with breakfast flatbread and honey, the same as yesterday and the day before. "I'm pulling another night shift." "Doctor, Hassan needs help with incoming casualties. That's the 3rd this week. Someone has to pay for food." She slammed a plate down hard enough to make Lucas flinch. "Unless your mysterious big story finally pays off?" Warren bit back his response. If she only knew. The trust fund from his grandfather old Texas oil money sat untouched in Swiss accounts. $53 million that would paint a target on their backs bigger than any window. In Yemen, that kind of money didn't buy safety. It bought kidnapping, ransom demands, maybe shallow graves in the desert. His phone buzzed. A coded message from Elise. "Package ready for pickup. Usual place." "I need to go to the office," he said, kissing both kids on their foreheads. "The office?" Veronica mimicked. "That rat-infested room you share with those other dreamers? When are you going to get a real job, Warren? The British Embassy's hiring translators. Good money. Safe." "We've discussed this." "No, you've dodged this. For 2 years, you've dodged this." She grabbed her medical bag, the new leather one, also expensive, also unexplained. "I'll be late. Don't wait up." After she left, Warren helped the kids with their homeschooling, Sarah with mathematics, Lucas with reading. The electricity cut out twice, but they made it work with battery-powered lanterns. By noon, he'd arranged for Mrs. Rashidi downstairs to watch them and headed out into the suffocating heat. The office was indeed a run-down building in the Tahrir district, but the basement held secrets worth more than any newspaper. Elise Chen, compact and efficient in her tactical vest, supervised the loading of medical supplies into hidden compartments of beat-up Land Cruisers. Antibiotics, surgical supplies, baby formula, she checked off her list. "The convoy leaves at sunset for Taiz. You sure the route's clear?" "My contacts say the Houthis pulled back yesterday. We've got maybe a 12-hour window." "Your contacts." Elise studied him with dark eyes that missed nothing. "One day you'll tell me how a freelance journalist has better intel than the UN." One day, Warren helped secure a crate. "How's your sister?" "Still trying to get me to come home to Minnesota. Says I'm wasting my degree playing war hero." She paused. "You look tired, Warren. Everything okay at home?" He thought about Veronica's new things, her increasing absences, the way she'd stopped asking about his day. "Fine, just the usual." Elise didn't look convinced, but let it drop. They worked in companionable silence until the trucks were loaded. Then Warren made his rounds checking with contacts, gathering information for his cover stories, maintaining the elaborate fiction of his life. By evening, he was back home, cooking dinner while the kids played. The apartment felt empty without Veronica's complaints filling the space. Sarah showed him a drawing of their family stick figures holding hands under a yellow sun, no bombs or smoke in her sky. "When's Mommy coming home?" Lucas asked, pushing rice around his plate. "Late, buddy. She's helping sick people." "She's always helping sick people." Sarah's voice held a note of accusation that made Warren's chest tight. "Miriam's mom is home every night." After bedtime stories and prayers, Warren sat in the darkness of his living room, staring at the city lights through bulletproof glass he'd installed without telling Veronica. His phone showed 3 missed calls from her. He didn't call back. Instead, he opened his laptop and reviewed the files Elise had given him: requests for aid from villages cut off by fighting, desperate pleas for insulin, antibiotics, clean water. Each request a life hanging in the balance. Each one he could help, if he was careful, if he stayed invisible. A key turned in the lock at midnight. Veronica slipped in, thinking he was asleep. She smelled wrong, not like the hospital's harsh disinfectant and death, but like expensive cologne. Men's cologne. "Long shift?" he asked from the darkness. She jumped, hand to her heart. "Jesus, Warren, you scared me. Yes, long shift. Casualties from the market bombing." "Which market?" A pause. The one in Al Sabine." There had been no bombing in Al Sabine. Warren had checked all his sources. "You should shower," he said quietly. "You smell like someone else's cologne." "It's probably from one of the patients. You know how crowded the wards get." She moved quickly toward the bathroom. "I'm exhausted. We'll talk tomorrow." Warren listened to the water run, washing away evidence of wherever she'd really been. He thought about the Swiss accounts, the money that could change everything and destroy everything. He thought about Sarah's drawing and Lucas's questions and the medical supplies heading to Thais. Most of all, he thought about the British embassy and why Veronica suddenly knew they were hiring translators. Tomorrow, he decided, tomorrow he'd start paying attention to the details he'd been too busy to notice. Outside, another explosion lit the sky closer this time, close enough to rattle the windows and wake the children. Warren went to comfort them, leaving his suspicions in the dark where they belonged. For now. Warren's decision to investigate began with a simple lie. 3 days after the Cologne incident, Veronica claimed she'd be attending a medical conference at the Médecins Sans Frontières compound. Warren knew MSF had evacuated their senior staff 2 weeks ago. He'd helped arrange secure transport for them. "Take care of the kids," she said, applying lipstick in the hallway mirror, a new shade, crimson. "I'll be back late." "They're serving dinner at the conference." "Which doctors are presenting?" Warren kept his voice casual, helping Lucas tie his shoes. "Oh, you know, various specialists, trauma protocols in conflict zones." She grabbed her purse, another new addition. Louis Vuitton, probably counterfeit, but expensive nonetheless. "Don't wait up." After she left, Warren made 3 calls. The first to MSF's local coordinator confirmed no conference. The second to his contact at the hospital revealed Veronica had taken a personal day. The third was to Willow Reeves. "Warren Mitchell," Willow's gravelly voice came through encrypted channels. "Haven't heard from you since that mess in Aden. You need photos of something that goes boom?" "Something more delicate. Personal surveillance. Discretion essential." A pause. "You sure you want to go down that road? Some doors once opened." "I'm sure." They met at a cafe in the Turkish Quarter, one of the few places still serving real coffee. Willow looked like what she was, a war photographer who'd seen too much. Leather jacket despite the heat, cameras hidden in a battered messenger bag, eyes that cataloged exits before sitting down. Your wife, she said without preamble. I've seen her at the Movenpick Hotel, diplomatic district, not exactly where nurses hang out. Warren's coffee turned to ash in his mouth. How often? 3 times this past month. Always with the same man. British accent, expensive suit. Drives an armored Mercedes with diplomatic plates. She slid a memory card across the table. These are from last week, on the house. Professional courtesy. That evening, after bedtime stories about brave princes and magic carpets, Warren viewed the photos on his secure laptop. Each image was a knife between his ribs. Veronica entering the hotel. Veronica in the lobby, laughing at something the man said. Veronica's hand on his arm, intimate and familiar. The man was handsome in that British way, all angles and aristocratic bearing. Wesley Cunningham, according to the diplomatic registry. Cultural attaché, which Warren knew meant intelligence service. Married, 2 children in London. A reputation for collecting other men's wives like vintage wines. Daddy? Sarah stood in the doorway, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Why are you looking at pictures of Mommy? Warren closed the laptop quickly. Just work stuff, sweetheart. Why aren't you asleep? Bad dream. The planes were dropping fire again. She climbed into his lap, small and warm and trusting. Is Mommy helping sick people tonight? Yes, he lied, hating himself for it. She's helping people. The next 2 weeks became an exercise in controlled deception. Warren smiled at breakfast, kissed Veronica goodbye, played the oblivious husband while building his case. Willow's surveillance revealed a pattern. Tuesday and Thursday afternoons at the Movenpick, occasional lunches at restaurants normal Yemenis could never afford, intimate conversations in corners where they thought no one was watching. Meanwhile, Warren's real work continued. A cholera outbreak in the northern provinces required water purification tablets, insulin for the diabetic children in Al-Hudaida, surgical supplies for the underground hospital treating civilians caught in crossfire. Each mission required careful planning, trusted contacts, and luck that seemed to be running thin. You're distracted, Elise observed during a supply run preparation. They were loading trucks in a warehouse that officially didn't exist, marking crates with false labels. Yesterday you mixed up the morphine and antibiotics shipments. That's not like you. Family stuff. The kind of family stuff that gets people killed? She hefted a box with surprising strength for her size. Because if your head's not in the game, my head's fine. He sealed another crate harder than necessary. Just, how well do you know the British Embassy staff? Elise's hands stilled. Well enough. Why? Wesley Cunningham, cultural attaché. Ah. She resumed working, but Warren caught the tightness in her jaw. That one. Yeah, I know him. Know his type anyway. Collects secrets and women, not always in that order. Why, oh. She looked at him with sudden understanding. Oh, Warren, I'm sorry. Don't be. I just need information. What kind of information? The kind that tells me what I'm really dealing with. Elise was quiet for a long moment. He's MI6, obviously. Been here 2 years. Wife and kids in London who he sees maybe twice a year. Has a thing for married women less complicated, he says. Usually moves on after a few months when the thrill wears off. Usually. There was a German doctor last year. Fell hard for him, left her husband. Wesley dropped her 2 weeks later. She had to leave Yemen, couldn't face the shame. Elise touched his arm gently. What are you going to do? Warren thought about the Swiss accounts, the money that could buy new identities, new lives, safety for his children. He thought about Veronica laughing in the hotel lobby, wearing jewelry he hadn't bought her, smelling like another man's promises. I'm going to protect my kids, he said finally. Everything else is negotiable. That night, Veronica came home humming. She'd stopped bothering with hospital excuses, simply claiming extra shifts. Warren pretended to work on an article while she showered, singing some English pop song he didn't recognize. Good day? He asked when she emerged, hair wrapped in a towel. Exhausting. 3 surgeries back to back, but we saved them all. She kissed his forehead, playing the devoted wife. You should sleep. You look tired. Veronica. He caught her hand. Are you happy? The question startled her. What, of course. Why would you ask that? We've been here 2 years, the war, the danger, the poverty. I sometimes wonder if I'm being selfish keeping us here for my work. She sat beside him, and for a moment, he saw the woman he'd married. Young, idealistic, ready to follow him anywhere. We're doing important work, she said carefully. Both of us. That matters, right? Right. He squeezed her hand, feeling the weight of her wedding ring. I love you. Love you too. But she pulled away too quickly, busied herself with unnecessary tasks. I might have another late shift tomorrow. Emergency protocols training. Warren nodded, making a mental note to have Willow at the move-in pick tomorrow afternoon. In war, intelligence was everything. In marriage, apparently, it was the same. Later, lying beside her in the dark, listening to her breathing, Warren made his decision. He wouldn't confront her, not yet. First, he needed leverage, protection. A plan that would ensure his children stayed with him no matter what came next. In the distance, artillery fire rumbled like thunder. Veronica didn't stir. She'd grown used to the sounds of war. Warren wondered if she'd grown used to betrayal just as easily. The lawyer's office in Dubai felt like another planet after the dust and desperation of Sana'a. Marcus Chen, no relation to Elise, despite the surname, sat across a mahogany desk that probably cost more than most Yemenis saw in a lifetime. Harvard Law, specializing in international family law, recommended by contacts who knew how to keep secrets. Your situation is complex, Marcus said, reviewing the documents Warren had provided. Yemen's legal system, your American citizenship, her British boyfriend's diplomatic immunity, it's a jurisdictional nightmare. I don't care about jurisdiction, I care about my kids. Then we get creative. Marcus pulled up screens on his tablet. First, we establish trust funds for the children in jurisdictions where Yemeni courts have no reach. Second, we document everything her abandonment of family duties, the adultery, especially with a foreign diplomat. In Yemen, that carries weight. And if she claims I've been hiding assets, were they hidden before the marriage? Inherited before, never commingled with marital assets. Marcus smiled like a shark scenting blood. Then legally, in most jurisdictions, they're yours, but let's make it bulletproof. They spent 6 hours constructing legal fortifications, trusts in Switzerland and Singapore, educational funds locked until the children turned 18, medical emergency accounts accessible only with multiple signatures. By the time Warren boarded the flight back to Sana'a, his children's futures were secured behind walls of paperwork no family court could breach. Willow met him at the airport with new intelligence. Your wife's getting sloppy, or bold. Maybe both. She handed him an encrypted drive. Yesterday, she and Cunningham had lunch at the ambassador's residence. Very public, very stupid. Or very confident she won't get caught. There's more. I followed Cunningham afterward. He stopped at a travel agency, booked 3 tickets to London, 2 adults, 2 children, departure in 6 weeks. The ground seemed to tilt under Warren's feet. She's planning to take my kids. Looks like it. Question is, what are you going to do about it? Warren thought about the convoy leaving tonight for Marib, medical supplies that would save lives. He thought about Sarah's nightmares and Lucas asking why Mommy was never home. He thought about Swiss bank accounts and moral compromises and the price of staying invisible. I'm going to give them exactly what they want, he said, and then I'm going to take it all away. The plan formed like a military operation. Elise, once briefed, threw her tactical mind into it with frightening efficiency. The embassy charity gala, 3 weeks away, every diplomat, journalist, and NGO worker will be there, maximum exposure. Maximum humiliation, Warren corrected. I want witnesses, credible ones. I can get Reuters and Al Jazeera there, maybe BBC if we're lucky. Willow ticked off names on her fingers, but you need more than just exposure. You need evidence that can't be disputed. Then we give them rope, Warren said, and we wait for them to hang themselves. The next phase required Oscar-worthy performance. Warren became the perfect oblivious husband. He brought Veronica flowers, wilted ones from the market, all he could afford. He talked excitedly about a fictional article assignment that might pay an extra $100. He even suggested, with calculated casualness, that she invite her hospital friends for dinner. Oh, they're all so busy, she said quickly. You know how it is. Of course. Maybe that British doctor you mentioned? Wesley? He seemed nice when I met him at the hospital. Her face went pale, then flushed. When did you meet Wesley? Last month. I was covering the bombing victims, remember? He was consulting on trauma protocols. Warren watched her relax, believing his lie. Seemed very professional, very married too. Showed me pictures of his kids. Yes, he's very devoted to his family. The irony seemed lost on her. Meanwhile, Warren's hidden cameras, military grade, courtesy of contacts who owed him favors, captured everything. Veronica on the phone with Wesley, planning their escape. He suspects nothing. Pathetic, really. Can't wait to be free of this place. Each word another nail in her coffin. The break came when Warren announced a fabricated journalism trip to Jordan. 2 weeks, covering the refugee camps. It's a big opportunity. Al Jazeera might pick it up. Veronica's eyes lit up like Christmas. 2 weeks? That's wonderful, honey. You deserve this break. I'll miss you and the kids. We'll be fine. She was already calculating, he could see it. 2 weeks alone with Wesley. 2 weeks to finalize their plans. When do you leave? Thursday morning. Thursday came. Warren made a show of packing, kissing the children goodbye, promising to bring them presents from Jordan. Veronica drove him to the airport, practically vibrating with anticipation. Be careful, she said, kissing him at the departure gate. Jordan can be dangerous, too. I'll be fine. Take care of our babies. Always. Warren watched her drive away, then took a taxi to the safe house Elise had arranged in the industrial district. Willow was already there with surveillance equipment. Elise arrived an hour later with supplies. You sure about this? Elise asked. Once you pull this trigger, there's no going back. She's planning to steal my children and disappear to London with a British spy. There's no going back anyway. The next 72 hours provided everything they needed. Wesley moved into Warren's house the first night. Willow's long-range cameras captured him carrying an overnight bag, Veronica greeting him at the door in lingerie Warren had never seen. They played house with Warren's children, Wesley reading them bedtime stories in Warren's chair, eating breakfast at Warren's table. The arrogance, Willow muttered, adjusting her lens. It's like they want to get caught. They think they're untouchable, Warren said. Diplomatic immunity, British passport, my apparent poverty. They think they've already won. On the third night, Warren's hidden microphones struck gold. Wesley and Veronica, drunk on wine and false security, discussing their future. The divorce papers are ready, Veronica's voice, slurred but clear. My lawyer says with Warren's pathetic income, I'll get the kids easily. Probably alimony, too. Darling, you won't need alimony. I've got more than enough for all of us. I know, but it's the principle. 10 years of living in squalor, pretending his journalism mattered. He owes me. What about his family? Doesn't he have money somewhere? His grandfather was some oil tycoon, but Warren never saw a penny. Too proud to ask, probably. Typical American masculine stupidity. They laughed. Warren's hands clenched into fists. The children like me, Wesley continued. That's the important thing. They'll adjust to London quickly. Good schools, proper civilization. Not like this hellhole. Sarah asked yesterday if you were her new daddy. What did you tell her? Soon, baby. Very soon. Warren turned off the recording. He'd heard enough. In the corner, Elise cleaned her pistol with mechanical precision. The embassy gala is in 5 days. You ready? Almost. There's one more thing I need. The final piece came from an unexpected source. Vanessa, Veronica's younger sister, emailed from Seattle. She was coming to visit, worried about her sister in a war zone. Warren, still supposedly in Jordan, responded warmly. Of course she should come. Family was everything. He'd need all the witnesses he could get. The night before the gala, Warren made his preparations. The presentation was loaded on encrypted drives, backed up in 3 locations. Willow had press passes for 6 international journalists. Elise had arranged security-trusted men who understood that sometimes justice came from unexpected directions. In the safe house, Warren stared at photos of his children. Sarah's gap-toothed smile. Lucas's serious expression, so like his own. In 48 hours, their world would shatter. But better a broken world with a father who loved them than a gilded cage with a mother who saw them as accessories to her escape plan. You know, Elise said quietly, there's still time to handle this privately. Legal channels, less explosive. Warren thought about the medical supplies that hadn't been delivered because he'd been watching his wife betray him. The children in Thais who needed insulin. The families in Marib waiting for antibiotics. Every moment of this personal drama was a moment stolen from people who needed him. No, he said. She made it public the moment she brought another man into my house, into my children's lives. Public actions deserve public consequences. Outside, the muezzin's call to prayer echoed across the city. Warren didn't pray anymore, hadn't since the war started. But tonight, he found himself whispering words his grandfather had taught him. Not for vengeance, for justice, for his children, for the truth that would set them all free, no matter how much it burned. Warren's early return from Jordan was perfectly timed. He arrived at his apartment at 10 a.m., knowing Wesley would still be there. Willow had confirmed his Mercedes in the parking garage. The key turned in the lock with deliberate noise. Let them scramble. Daddy! Lucas launched himself at Warren's legs. You're home. Hey, buddy, where's Mommy? In the bedroom with Uncle Wesley. They're having a grown-up meeting. Uncle Wesley. The words tasted like battery acid. Footsteps thundered down the hallway. Veronica appeared, hair hastily tied back, wearing one of Warren's old journalism school t-shirts. Warren, you're back early. Editor killed the story. Budget cuts. He set down his bag, noting her smeared lipstick. Uncle Wesley? Wesley emerged, fully dressed but disheveled, extending his hand with British aplomb. Warren, good to see you again. I was just checking on Veronica and the children. Heard you were away, thought they might need anything. At 10 in the morning. I had a gap in my schedule. Early meeting canceled. How thoughtful. Warren shook his hand, gripping just hard enough to see Wesley's eyes widen. Actually, perfect timing. The embassy gala tonight, you're both coming, right? Veronica's mouth opened and closed like a landed fish. The gala? The charity auction for war orphans. I'm giving a presentation about the humanitarian situation. Small thing, but the organizers insisted. He smiled at Wesley. You should come as our guest. Veronica's been working so hard at the hospital she deserves a night out. That's very kind, but I insist. Black tie, 7 sharp. Veronica, wear that green dress. You know, the one your sister sent last Christmas. He kissed her forehead, tasting another man's cologne. I need to shower off the travel dust. Wesley, thanks again for checking on my family. Such a good friend. After Wesley's hasty exit, Veronica cornered Warren in the bathroom. Why did you invite him? Why not? He's been so helpful, checking on you while I was gone. Warren turned on the shower. Unless there's a reason you don't want to be seen together in public. Don't be ridiculous. I might have to work tonight. Call in sick. This is important to me. She left without another word. Warren stood under the scalding water, washing away the grime of 3 days' surveillance and the urge to confront her right now. Patience. Tonight, in front of everyone who mattered. Sarah knocked on the door. Daddy, are you really staying home now? Yes, sweetheart, I'm staying. Good. I don't like when Uncle Wesley reads to us. He does the voices wrong. Smart girl. Warren made a mental note to increase her trust fund. The day crawled by with agonizing normalcy. Warren played with the children, helped with homework, prepared lunch. Veronica paced like a caged animal, phone buzzing with messages she deleted immediately. At 4, Vanessa arrived from the airport, all Seattle sunshine and concerned sister energy. Ronnie, you look different. Vanessa hugged her sister, then pulled back, studying her. New perfume? Just something from the market. Veronica shot Warren a look. I didn't know you were coming. Warren emailed me, said you'd been stressed with all the hospital work. Vanessa turned to Warren with genuine warmth. Thanks for taking care of her. This place. How do you both stand it? You do what you have to for the people you love, Warren said, watching Veronica flinch. The sisters retreated to catch up. Warren used the time to coordinate final details. Willow confirmed the AV system was ready. Elise had his presentation queued up. 6 journalists waited in the wings, including one from the Financial Times who owed Warren for a story about oil corruption. At 6:30, Veronica emerged in the green dress, looking beautiful and miserable in equal measure. "Do we have to go?" "We promised. Besides, Vanessa wants to see how the diplomatic community lives." Warren adjusted his borrowed tux. One advantage of his hidden wealth was knowing exactly where to find quality rentals. "You look stunning." "Warren." She touched his arm. "Maybe we should talk. About us. About things. After the gala. We'll have all the time in the world to talk after." The Movenpick Hotel ballroom glittered with forced elegance, a bubble of privilege floating above a drowning city. Diplomats, NGO directors, and journalists mingled while outside, Yemen bled. Warren spotted Wesley immediately, resplendent in bespoke Savile Row, holding court near the bar. "There's your friend," Warren murmured to Veronica. "Should we say hello?" "Later. Maybe. I need a drink first." But Warren was already steering them over, Vanessa in tow. "Wesley, so glad you could make it." Wesley's smile could have curdled milk. "Warren, Veronica, lovely to see you both. This is Veronica's sister, Vanessa, from Seattle. Vanessa, Wesley Cunningham, cultural attaché. He's been absolutely wonderful checking on Veronica while I travel." Vanessa's handshake was perfunctory. "How thoughtful. Ronnie's lucky to have such attentive friends." The evening progressed in excruciating increments. Warren worked the room, laying groundwork, ensuring key people would be present for his presentation. Veronica and Wesley orbited each other like guilty satellites, never quite touching but never fully apart. Vanessa watched it all with narrowing eyes. At 8:30, the organizer called for attention. "Ladies and gentlemen, before our auction begins, Warren Mitchell has prepared a brief presentation on the humanitarian crisis. Warren's been instrumental in documenting the situation here. Please give him your attention." Warren took the stage, heart steady despite everything. The lights dimmed. His first slides showed the Yemen everyone expected: destroyed buildings, hungry children, statistics of suffering. "But tonight," he said, voice carrying clear and strong, "I want to tell you a different story, a story about trust, about betrayal, about what happens when those meant to help become predators themselves." The room stirred, sensing a shift. Warren clicked to the next slide, a photo of medical supplies marked for children's hospitals, sold on the black market instead. "Corruption takes many forms in war zones. Sometimes it's money. Sometimes it's medicine. And sometimes—" He clicked again. The screen filled with Willow's surveillance photo. Wesley and Veronica entering the Movenpick, his hand possessive on her lower back. Sometimes it's more personal. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Wesley stood frozen. Veronica grabbed the table for support. "For months, while I've been documenting one humanitarian crisis, another has been unfolding in my own home." Click. Audio began playing, Veronica's voice clear as crystal. "He suspects nothing. Pathetic, really." "Warren, stop!" Veronica's cry cut through the recording. "Why? You didn't stop." Click. Security footage from his apartment, Wesley reading to his children, sitting in his chair, kissing his wife in his kitchen. "Mr. Cunningham here, a married diplomat with children in London, has been conducting an affair with my wife, planning to steal my family. My children." The British ambassador was already moving toward Wesley, face thunderous. Phones appeared, recording everything. The Financial Times journalist scribbled furiously. "But here's the truly interesting part." Warren's voice never wavered. "They assumed I was poor, a struggling journalist barely surviving." Click. Bank statements appeared, account numbers redacted, but balances visible. "My grandfather was Harrison Mitchell, Mitchell Oil. I inherited his fortune but chose to live simply here, to avoid making my family targets. $53 million, hidden to keep us safe." Veronica's legs gave out. Vanessa caught her, face mixing disgust with pity. "So when my wife decided she deserved better than a poor journalist, when Mr. Cunningham promised her a better life in London with my children." Warren clicked one final time. Legal documents filled the screen. She didn't realize the divorce papers she filed would reveal some interesting truths, like the trust funds I established for our children, Like the fact that adultery still matters in Yemeni courts. Like the reality that actions have consequences. You bastard! Wesley lunged forward, but security Elise's men intercepted him. The real bastard, Warren said calmly, is the man who pretends to serve his country while destroying families, who uses diplomatic immunity as a shield for predation. He addressed the ambassador directly. Sir, you might want to check how many other wives Mr. Cunningham has comforted during his posting here. The room erupted. The ambassador's security surrounded Wesley. Veronica sobbed into Vanessa's shoulder while her sister looked like she wanted to strangle her. Journalists swarmed, smelling blood in the water. Warren stepped down from the stage, suddenly exhausted. Elise appeared at his elbow. Clean extraction? Well done. Is it? He watched his life detonate in real time. My kids? Already at the safe house with Mrs. Rashidi. Figured you'd want them away from this. Smart woman. Warren moved through the chaos toward Veronica. Vanessa saw him coming and stepped aside. How could you? Veronica's mascara ran in black rivers. In front of everyone. How could I? You brought another man into our home, our children's home. You were planning to kidnap them to London. I wasn't. We weren't. But the lies died on her lips. You had millions, and you let us live like refugees. We lived simply, safely. Every dollar I didn't spend on luxury went to saving lives. Real lives. Children dying from preventable diseases while you complained about not having designer clothes. You lied to me. I protected you. There's a difference. He turned to Vanessa. Take her home. Not my home, find a hotel. My lawyer will be in touch. Warren, please. But he was already walking away, past Wesley being escorted out by embassy security, past the gossiping crowd, past the life he'd built on careful deceptions and necessary lies. Outside, Sanaa's broken skyline waited, indifferent to personal dramas. Smoke still rose from the old city. People still needed saving. Warren's phone buzzed. A message from a contact in Taiz. Insulin shipment arrived safely. 23 children will live because of it. 23 children who'd never know his name. 23 futures secured while his own family shattered. Worth it, he decided. It was all worth it. In the distance, an explosion lit the night sky. Warren didn't flinch. He'd already survived the worst detonation of the evening. Now came the harder part, building something new from the rubble. The law offices of Hartley and Associates occupied the entire 15th floor of Sanaa's only functioning corporate tower. 3 days after the embassy gala disaster, Veronica sat across from James Hartley, her newly hired British lawyer, looking like she'd aged a decade overnight. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, her usually perfect hair hung limp, and her hands trembled as she signed the retainer agreement. Mrs. Mitchell, Hartley began, adjusting his wire-rimmed glasses, I've reviewed the preliminary financial disclosures from your husband's attorney. I must say, the numbers are extraordinary. How much? Veronica's voice was hoarse from crying. $53 million. Give or take. Inherited from his grandfather's estate before your marriage. Under both American and Yemeni law, that makes it separate property, but $53 million. She laughed, a broken sound that made even the seasoned lawyer flinch. 10 years. 10 years I scraped by, wearing second-hand clothes, shopping in souks, while he sat on $53 million. There's more. The humanitarian organization he runs, it's funded entirely by investment returns from the principal. He's been moving approximately $2 million annually through various channels for medical supplies, food aid, evacuation operations. Stop. Veronica's fist hit the table. I don't care about his Mother Teresa act. What am I entitled to? Hartley shuffled papers uncomfortably. That's where it becomes complicated. The prenuptial agreement you signed. What prenuptial agreement? We didn't have one. Actually, you did. Filed in Nevada, where you married. Very simple document, but legally binding. You acknowledged his premarital assets and waived claims to them. Veronica's face went white. I don't remember. Wait. He said it was immigration paperwork, for my work visa. That bastard. Mrs. Mitchell, even without the prenup, your activities with Mr. Cunningham significantly impact any settlement negotiations. In Yemen, adultery can result in complete forfeiture of marital rights. But the children! Surely I'm entitled to support for the children. Hartley's expression grew more uncomfortable. Your husband established irrevocable trusts for both children years ago. They're already financially secure through age 25. As for custody, he pulled out another document. This is a transcript from the Move-and-Pick Hotel's security footage. You and Mr. Cunningham discussing plans to, quote, leave that pathetic loser and start fresh in London with the kids. That won't play well in court. Veronica sank into her chair. Through the window, smoke rose from the old city, another reminder of the war zone she'd been so desperate to escape. So I get nothing? I wouldn't say nothing. We can argue for basic support during the divorce proceedings, perhaps a modest settlement to avoid a protracted legal battle. But Mrs. Mitchell, you must understand your husband holds all the cards, the money, the evidence, and in Yemen, the moral high ground. The moral high ground? Veronica's voice rose. He lied to me for 10 years. Let me think we were poor while he played secret billionaire. Millionaire, Hartley corrected. And from what I understand, he lived modestly to protect your family from kidnapping risks, not an unreasonable precaution in Yemen. A knock interrupted them. Hartley's assistant entered, looking flustered. Sir, there's a woman here. Says she's Mrs. Mitchell's sister. She's quite insistent. Vanessa burst in before Hartley could respond, her Seattle coffee shop aesthetic clashing with the formal office. We need to talk, now. Vanessa, I'm in a meeting. With a lawyer. Yeah, I figured. Vanessa turned to Hartley. How much is my sister paying you to help her steal from the man who protected her for a decade? Miss Vanessa Parker. And before you answer, know that I've spent the last 3 days learning exactly what my sister did. The affair's plural, by the way. This wasn't her first rodeo with married diplomats. The Lithuanian ambassador 2 years ago? The French medical coordinator before that? Veronica shot to her feet. You don't know what you're talking about? Don't I? Warren showed me the detective's files. He knew about all of them, Ronnie. He knew and said nothing because he loved you and wanted to keep the family together, until you tried to steal his children. Get out! No! Vanessa's voice was steel. You're my sister and I love you, but you're also a narcissistic disaster who destroys everything good in your life. Warren Mitchell is the best thing that ever happened to you, and you threw him away for what? A British accent and empty promises? Hartley cleared his throat. Perhaps we should... Wesley dumped her, by the way, Vanessa continued. The moment his embassy recalled him, sent a 2-line email. Sorry, darling. Complications arose. Best of luck. That's what you destroyed your family for, Ronnie. A man who couldn't even break up with you in person. Veronica collapsed back into her chair, sobbing. Vanessa's expression softened slightly, but her voice remained firm. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to drop this gold-digging legal circus. You're going to accept whatever Warren offers, which, knowing him, will be more than you deserve. And you're going to get help. Real help. Therapy. Rehab. Whatever it takes to figure out why you keep sabotaging your life. Or what? Veronica's voice was muffled by her hands. Or I tell Mom, I tell everyone back home. I post those security videos online. You think the embassy humiliation was bad? Wait until the Seattle medical community learns that perfect Veronica Mitchell is a serial cheater who tried to kidnap her children to run off with a married spy. Hartley stood. I think I'll give you ladies some privacy. He paused at the door. Mrs. Mitchell, my advice? Listen to your sister. Your husband's attorney mentioned he's willing to provide a modest settlement and relocation assistance. Given the circumstances, that's remarkably generous. After he left, the sisters sat in silence, broken only by Veronica's quiet sobs and the distant thrum of explosions. Why? Vanessa finally asked. Why do you always do this? You had everything a devoted husband, beautiful children, meaningful work. You don't understand. Veronica looked up, mascara streaking her cheeks. You didn't live here. The fear, the violence, the constant worry. Warren was never home, always running off on his missions. I was alone, terrified, and Wesley made me feel special, desired, like the princess you always thought you were. Vanessa sighed. Ronnie, Warren was literally saving lives. Children are alive because of what he did. And he did it all while pretending to be poor to keep you safe. Do you have any idea how much strength that takes? He should have told me about the money. Would it have mattered? Or would you have just spent it all and made yourself a target? Be honest, if you'd known about the millions, how long before you'd have demanded a mansion, private schools, shopping trips to Dubai? Veronica didn't answer, which was answer enough. I'm staying in Yemen for another week, Vanessa said, standing. Warren asked me to help with the children while he sorts out the legal mess. Those kids you were ready to traumatize by dragging them to London? They're amazing, by the way. Sarah wants to be a doctor like Aunt Yasmin. Lucas is learning Arabic so he can help translate for refugees. They're already better people than either of us. Aunt Yasmin? Warren's colleague, beautiful, brilliant doctor who actually appreciates him. And before you even think about causing trouble there, don't. You've lost all rights to jealousy. Veronica stood shakily. What am I supposed to do now? Go home, back to Seattle. Get your head straight. Figure out who you are when you're not destroying someone else's life. And maybe, if you're very lucky, someday your children might forgive you enough to let you back in their lives. Warren won't let me see them. Warren already said you can have supervised visits once the divorce is final. That's more than you deserve, and you know it. They left the office together, stepping into Yemen's crushing heat. The city sprawled below them, ancient and broken, beautiful and terrible. Somewhere in that maze of streets, Warren was probably saving another life while Veronica had been plotting to take half his fortune. I loved him once, Veronica whispered. I really did. I know, Vanessa said softly. That's the saddest part of all. Warren's phone buzzed at 3 a.m., dragging him from the first decent sleep he'd had in weeks. The caller ID showed a number he didn't recognize, but the voice was unmistakably Veronica's slurred, angry, dangerous. You think you've won? Think you can just throw me away like garbage? Veronica, it's 3 a.m. Are you drunk? Don't you dare judge me, you lying bastard. 53 million while I worked double shifts thinking we needed the money. Warren sat up, instantly alert. Behind Veronica's voice, he could hear music, voices a bar or club. Where are you? None of your business. Just like your money was none of my business, right? Are you safe? Do you need... I need what's mine. Half of everything. The kids deserve... The kids are asleep in their beds, where children should be at 3 a.m. Where are you? The Phoenicia, having drinks with friends, real friends who don't lie to me for 10 years. Warren was already pulling on clothes. The Phoenicia was an expatriate bar in the diplomatic quarter, known for its lax security and dangerous clientele. Stay there, I'm coming to get you. Like hell you are. I'm done being controlled by you. The line went dead. Warren stared at his phone for a moment, then dialed Elise. This better be a medical emergency, she answered on the second ring, sounding fully awake despite the hour. Veronica's drunk at the Phoenicia. I need someone to... On it. I've got people nearby. Warren, don't go there yourself. She's trying to create a scene. But Warren was already in his car, navigating Sana'a's empty streets. The overnight curfew had thinned traffic to military patrols and the occasional aid convoy. His phone rang again, Vanessa this time. She called you too? He asked without preamble. She's been texting me manifestos for the last hour. Warren, she's lost it. She's threatening to go to the media, claim you're running illegal operations, that you're a CIA asset. Let her. I've got nothing to hide. She's also posting on social media, photos of the kids, your address, details about your humanitarian network. She's going to get someone killed. Warren's hands tightened on the wheel. Can you report the posts? Get them taken down? Already on it, but she keeps making new accounts. Vanessa paused. Warren, I hate to say this, but my sister, when she spirals like this, she's capable of anything. After Dad left, she burned down his greenhouse, told everyone it was an electrical fire. You think she'd hurt the kids? Not physically, but emotionally? She's already started. She called Sarah earlier, told her daddy was sending Mommy away because he loved money more than family. Christ. Warren took a corner too fast, tires squealing. Sarah didn't believe her? Sarah hung up and came to find me. Smart kid, but Lucas, he's more sensitive. He's been asking questions. The Phoenicia's neon sign flickered in the darkness ahead. Warren could see Elise's Toyota already in the parking lot, two of her security contractors flanking the entrance. "I'm here. Keep the kids close." "Warren, be careful. She's not the woman you married anymore." If she ever was, Warren thought, but didn't say. Inside, the Phoenicia was all smoke and desperation, the last refuge of Sanaa's lost souls. Warren found Veronica at the bar, surrounded by people he didn't recognize, contractors, journalists, the flotsam of war zones everywhere. She was holding court, gesturing wildly with a martini glass. "Underground railroad for terrorists, I'm telling you. My husband, the great humanitarian." She spotted Warren and her voice rose. "There he is, the millionaire who made his wife shop at Saks." The bar fell silent. Warren felt every eye on him as he approached. "Time to go home, Veronica." "Home? You mean the prison you kept me in? The slum you made me raise our children in while you sat on millions?" "You're drunk. Let's discuss this tomorrow." "No." She threw her drink at him. Warren dodged, but gin splashed across his shirt. "We'll discuss it now. Tell them. Tell everyone how you lied." Elise materialized at Warren's elbow. "Perhaps we should—" "Don't touch me!" Veronica shoved Elise hard. "Another one of your whores? Is that it? How many others, Warren? How many women did you buy with your blood money?" "Veronica, stop!" Warren kept his voice level despite the rage building in his chest. "You're embarrassing yourself." "Embarrassing myself? Like you embarrassed me at the embassy? Showing those pictures, those videos you had no right? You brought another man into our home, our children's home. Because you weren't there. Always gone, always saving strangers while your own family rotted." "I was saving lives. You were playing God." She grabbed a bottle from the bar, brandishing it like a weapon. Mr. High and Mighty, deciding who deserves help while his wife, the bottle, never made it to its target. Elise's security contractors moved with practiced efficiency, one disarming Veronica, while the other cleared a path to the exit. Veronica's screams echoed off the walls as they carried her out. "I'll kill you! I'll take everything! The kids will know what you really are." Warren followed them outside where Vanessa was waiting by a taxi. "I've got her," Vanessa said wearily. "There's a flight to Seattle tomorrow. I'll make sure she's on it." Vanessa. "Just keep those kids safe, Warren. She's my sister and I love her, but right now she's poison." They bundled Veronica into the taxi, her threats fading into the night. Warren stood in the parking lot, gin drying on his shirt, wondering how it had all gone so wrong. "She's going to make trouble," Elise observed quietly. "The social media posts, the threats, this isn't over." "I know." Warren pulled out his phone, scrolling through Veronica's digital rampage. Photos of their apartment building, names of his local contacts, details about supply routes that could get people killed. "We need to accelerate the timeline. Move the kids somewhere safe." "The compound in the green zone?" "For now. But I'm thinking bigger picture. Jordan, maybe, or Egypt." "Warren." Elise touched his arm gently. "You can't run forever. Eventually, you'll have to face this." "I'm not running. I'm protecting my children from their mother's breakdown." He showed her one of Veronica's posts, a photo of Lucas sleeping, captioned, "Soon, baby. Mommy's coming to save you from the bad man." "Jesus." "Yeah." Warren pocketed his phone. "Call Willow. I want surveillance on Veronica until she's on that plane, and increased security at the kids' school. If she tries to take them, she won't get within 100 meters, Elise promised. "I'll handle it." They drove back in silence, Sanaa waking around them as the first call to prayer echoed across the city. Warren thought about the meeting he had scheduled that morning, medical supplies for a hospital in Taiz, lives hanging in the balance while he dealt with Veronica's vendetta. "You know what the worst part is?" he said suddenly. "I would have given her money. If she'd just asked, if she'd just been honest about wanting more, I would have figured something out. But she didn't want money. She wanted Wesley. She wanted out. The money's just an excuse now." "People show you who they really are when they lose," Elise replied. "Veronica's showing you now." "What does that make me? I orchestrated her humiliation, destroyed her reputation. You exposed the truth. There's a difference." Elise pulled into the compound security checkpoint. She made choices. Now she's facing consequences. That's not revenge, Warren. That's justice. Warren wasn't sure he believed her, but as he entered his apartment and checked on his sleeping children safe, peaceful, unaware of their mother's midnight meltdown, he knew he'd make the same choices again. Sarah stirred as he adjusted her blanket. "Daddy? Go back to sleep, sweetheart. Is Mommy okay?" The question broke his heart. Mommy's going through a hard time, but you don't need to worry about that. I'm not worried. Sarah's eyes were wise beyond her 8 years. I have you. Warren kissed her forehead, swallowing past the lump in his throat. Always, baby. You'll always have me. Outside, the sun rose over Yemen, painting the sky in shades of fire and gold. Another day in paradise, Warren thought grimly. Another day of keeping his children safe from the woman who'd given them life. 6 weeks after Veronica's deportation to Seattle, Warren stood before a crowd of aid workers, local officials, and international journalists in a converted warehouse in Sanaa's industrial district. The space hummed with purpose medical supplies stacked along one wall, communications equipment along another, maps marking safe routes and danger zones covering every available surface. Ladies and gentlemen, Warren began, his voice carrying easily through the space. Welcome to the official headquarters of Yemen Relief Networks. Applause filled the warehouse. Behind him, a banner displayed their logo, a stylized olive branch wrapped around a medical cross, designed by Sarah during one of their art lessons. For 3 years, we've operated in shadows, moving supplies through unofficial channels, saving lives one shipment at a time. Today, we step into the light. In the crowd, Elise smiled, her usually tactical appearance softened by a rare dress uniform. Beside her, Willow documented everything, her cameras capturing this moment of transformation. Even Marcus Chen had flown in from Dubai, offering pro bono legal services to ensure their registration met international standards. Our mission remains unchanged, Warren continued. We go where others can't or won't. We serve those forgotten by larger organizations. We measure success not in dollars spent, but in lives saved. Mr. Mitchell, a reporter from Reuters raised her hand. How do you respond to allegations from your ex-wife that this organization is a front for intelligence operations? Warren had expected the question. My ex-wife is struggling with mental health issues, and I wish her nothing but recovery and peace. As for YRN, our books are open. Every dollar tracked, every shipment documented. We hide nothing because we have nothing to hide. What about the claims you concealed assets during your marriage? I protected my family from becoming kidnapping targets in a war zone. Any parent here would do the same. He gestured to the warehouse. Now those assets serve a higher purpose. Next question. The press conference continued for another hour, but Warren's mind was already moving ahead. Tomorrow they'd launch their first official convoy to Marib. Next week, the mobile medical unit would be operational. By month's end, they'd have safe houses established in 3 governorates. Daddy! Lucas's voice cut through the crowd. Warren's son ran toward him, dodging between adults, with Sarah close behind. They were supposed to be with their tutor, but Warren couldn't bring himself to scold them. Hey, buddy. Hey, sweetheart. He lifted Lucas while Sarah hugged his waist. What do you think of our new headquarters? It's awesome, Lucas exclaimed. Can we help pack boxes? When you're older. For now, your job is school. School's boring, Sarah declared. Aunt Yasmin says I'm already reading at 6th grade level. Aunt Yasmin. The title had stuck, though Yasmin herself remained carefully professional. Warren caught sight of her near the medical supplies, consulting with a WHO representative about vaccine distribution. She glanced up, meeting his eyes across the room, and offered a small smile before returning to her work. Mr. Mitchell? A young Yemeni woman approached hesitantly. I'm Aisha Hassan. You saved my brother last year insulin shipments to Hodeidah? Warren remembered. Mohammed. How is he? Alive, thanks to you. Tears gathered in her eyes. I'm a nurse. I'd like to volunteer if you'll have me. We'd be honored. See Elise, the woman in the blue uniform. She'll get you started. More people approached, doctors, drivers, fixers, all wanting to be part of something larger than survival. Warren fielded their offers while keeping one eye on his children, who'd discovered the communication equipment and were pretending to be radio operators. Impressive operation. Marcus Chen appeared at his elbow, looking out of place in his $1,000 suit. Though I recommend additional insurance for your vehicles, war zones make actuaries nervous. Already handled. Elise thinks of everything. Speaking of which, Marcus lowered his voice. Veronica's lawyer contacted me. She's dropping all financial claims. Warren felt a weight lift from his shoulders. What changed? Apparently, her sister threatened to release some rather damaging information about past indiscretions. Your ex-wife has agreed to a minimal settlement in exchange for everyone's silence. How minimal? $50,000 and a one-way ticket anywhere she wants, provided it's not Yemen. In return, she relinquishes all custody claims and agrees to supervised visits only. Give her $100,000 and therapy coverage for a year. Marcus raised an eyebrow. That's generous, considering. She's still my children's mother. If she gets help, maybe someday. Warren trailed off, watching Sarah show Lucas how to properly hold a radio handset. Maybe someday they can have some kind of relationship with her. You're a better man than most, Warren Mitchell. No, just a father trying to minimize damage. The crowd began to thin as evening approached. Warren helped load the last supplies for tomorrow's convoy, his children supervising with serious expressions that made the hardened aid workers hide smiles. You've done something good here, Yasmin said, appearing beside him as he secured a crate. Your grandfather would be proud. You think so? He made his fortune in oil. I'm spending it trying to clean up messes oil money helped create. Full circle, then. She handed him a manifest. The vaccine shipment arrived. We can start immunizations in Taiz next week. I submitted my resignation to WHO this morning. If you'll have me, I'd like to join YRN full-time. Warren studied her face, intelligent, determined, touched by the same drive that kept him moving through exhaustion and danger. The pay's terrible. The hours are worse. And the insurance Marcus mentioned? It doesn't cover acts of war. I'm not here for the benefits package. Then why? She gestured to the warehouse, to the supplies that would save lives, to the people who'd chosen hope over despair. Because you're doing what UN bureaucracy only talks about. Because those children deserve to grow up seeing their father as the hero he is. Because... She paused, then met his eyes directly. Because I believe in what you're building here. Yasmin. I'm not asking for anything beyond professional partnership, Warren. You're still healing. Your children need stability. But YRN needs a medical director, and I'm the best you're going to find. She was right, of course, about all of it. Warren extended his hand. Welcome to Yemen Relief Networks, Dr. Hakim. Her handshake was firm, professional, but something passed between them, understanding, perhaps, or recognition of kindred spirits in a broken land. Uncle Warren! A voice called from the entrance. Amal, one of the orphans from their first rescue mission, ran in waving a paper. Look, I got accepted to school. Warren knelt to read the acceptance letter, printed on cheap paper but representing infinite possibility. This is wonderful, Amal. I'm so proud of you. Will you come to my first day, please? Wouldn't miss it. As Amal ran off to share his news, Warren realized this was what rebuilding looked like. Not grand gestures or dramatic confrontations, but small victories accumulated day by day. A warehouse full of hope, children who called him uncle, a woman who saw past his broken pieces to something worth joining. Daddy, we're hungry, Lucas announced, tugging on Warren's sleeve. Pizza? Sarah suggested hopefully. There's no pizza in Yemen, dummy, Lucas said. Don't call your sister dummy. And there's actually a place near the Turkish embassy that claims to make pizza. Want to try it? The children cheered. Warren looked at Yasmin. Join us? We should discuss the Taiz mission anyway. Purely professional dinner? With 2 kids and whatever passes for pizza in a war zone? Doesn't get more professional than that. They left together as the sun set over Sana'a, painting the sky in impossible colors. The warehouse lights stayed on. Elise would work through the night preparing tomorrow's convoy. But for now, Warren allowed himself this moment. His children chattering about their day, a brilliant woman discussing medical logistics, and the knowledge that from ashes, something beautiful could grow. His phone buzzed a message from Vanessa. "She's in rehab. 90-day program. Don't give up hope." Warren deleted the message. Hope was for people with time to waste. He had work to do, lives to save, children to raise. If Veronica found her way back to sanity, he'd deal with that when it came. For now, this was enough. More than enough. It was everything. The mortar attack came at dawn, shattering windows 3 blocks from the YRN warehouse. Warren jolted awake to the sound of sirens and his satellite phone buzzing urgently. 8 months had passed since Veronica's departure. 8 months of building something meaningful from the wreckage of his marriage. Now Yemen itself seemed determined to tear it all down. "Elise here," the voice crackled through encrypted channels. "Northern checkpoint's compromised. We've got 3 trucks of medical supplies stuck in no man's land." Warren was already pulling on his boots, muscle memory taking over. "Casualties?" "Not yet, but the drivers are sitting ducks. Local militias demanding passage fees we can't pay. Can't or won't? Won't. You pay once, they own that route forever." Through the reinforced window of their new compound apartment, Warren could see smoke rising from the old city. Sarah and Lucas slept on, somehow adapting to the rhythm of war in ways that broke his heart. He grabbed his go-bag and headed for the door. "I'm 20 minutes out. Tell the drivers to sit tight." "Warren, it's too hot. Let me send those supplies get through or kids die. Simple math." The drive through Sanaa's awakening streets was a masterclass in controlled chaos. Checkpoints had multiplied overnight, young men with old rifles demanding papers, purpose, bribes. Warren navigated them with practiced ease, his press credentials and fluid Arabic opening doors that money couldn't. At the YRN Operations Center, Yasmin was already coordinating with field hospitals, her voice calm despite the crisis. She looked up as Warren entered, and something passed between them, not romantic, not yet, but a recognition of shared purpose that went deeper than attraction. 15 units of insulin in those trucks, she said without preamble. The pediatric ward in Saada is completely out. Then we get them through. Warren spread tactical maps across the table. Elise, what's our alternative route? There isn't one, not anymore. Elise's finger traced the shrinking safe zones. The coalition's pushing north, the Houthis are pushing back. We're running out of geography. Warren studied the map, his mind calculating risks and rewards. In the corner, a young Yemeni man Warren didn't recognize nervously cleaned an already spotless rifle. Who's the new guy? Khalid Hassan, Elise said. Aisha's brother. Former military, knows the northern routes like his own bloodstream. The diabetic kid from Hodeida? My nephew, sir, Khalid spoke up, his English accented but clear. You saved Muhammad's life. Now I help save others. Warren assessed him mid-20s, steady hands, eyes that had seen too much. Can you get us through the militia checkpoint? Not through. Around. There's a goat path, very rough. Trucks would need modifications. How long? 6 hours to modify, 8 to traverse. But sir, Khalid hesitated. The path goes through my uncle's village. They're not aligned with anyone. They survive by staying invisible. And we'd blow their cover. Perhaps, or perhaps they'd see medicine for children and remember their humanity. Yasmin interrupted. We don't have 14 hours. Those kids in Saada have maybe 6 before organ failure starts. Warren made the decision. We go through the checkpoint, but not with force. He turned to Khalid. Your uncle's village, what do they need most? Water. They're well dried up 3 months ago. Elise, what do we have in water purification tablets? Enough for 1,000 gallons, but Warren, load them. We're going to make a trade. The convoy assembled within an hour 3 medical trucks, 2 escort vehicles, and Warren's modified Land Cruiser leading the way. Yasmin insisted on coming, bringing her medical kit and stubborn determination. You should stay with the children, Warren argued as they loaded up. Aisha's with them. They're safe in the compound. She checked her supplies with practiced efficiency. Besides, when this goes sideways and you'll need a doctor. She was right, of course. Warren's plans had a habit of evolving under fire. The ride north was tense, radio chatter reporting firefights and artillery strikes along their route. Khalid navigated from the passenger seat, his knowledge of back roads keeping them away from the worst fighting. Yasmin sat in the back, reviewing patient files on a tablet powered by the car's battery. "Tell me about Saada," Warren said, needing distraction from the approaching danger. "Traditional stronghold, heavily bombed," Yasmin replied. "The hospital's underground now, built in an old parking garage. They're doing surgery by candlelight when the generators fail. And we're bringing them insulin, among other things. Antibiotics, surgical supplies, blood bags if they survive the heat." "They'll survive," Warren said firmly. "They have to." The militia checkpoint appeared like a mouth of broken-teeth concrete barriers, burned-out vehicles, and men with guns who'd forgotten what they were fighting for. Warren counted 12 fighters, maybe more in the buildings. Their leader, a scarred man in his 40s, approached with the swagger of someone who'd grown used to fear. "Inspection fee," he announced in Arabic, $1,000 American per truck. "We're carrying medicine for children," Warren replied calmly. "No money. Then no passage." Warren stepped out slowly, hands visible. Khalid tensed beside him, but Warren gestured for calm. This was a negotiation, not a battle. "I have something better than money," Warren said, producing a water purification tablet. "Clean water for your families. Enough for the whole village." The leader's eyes narrowed. "Tricks?" "No trick." Warren dropped the tablet into a bucket of murky water from their truck. Within minutes, the water cleared. He drank deeply, proving its safety. "1 tablet, 1,000 gallons. I have 50 tablets." "Not enough." "Then let's discuss what would be enough." Warren kept his voice level, reasonable. "Your children get sick too. Your wives need medicine. We're not your enemy, we're trying to keep people alive." Pretty words from an American spy. "I'm no spy, just a father trying to help other fathers keep their children healthy." The leader studied him, perhaps seeing something familiar in Warren's eyes. The weight of responsibility, the impossible choices war demanded. "The tablets," he said finally, "and medical check for my daughter. She coughs blood sometimes." Warren glanced at Yasmin, who nodded. "Done." The inspection was theater, both sides playing their roles. Yasmin examined the leader's daughter tuberculosis, treatable with antibiotics they happened to have. Warren distributed water tablets while Khalid subtly mapped the checkpoint's weaknesses for future reference. Within an hour, they were through, the militia leader waving them on with something almost like respect. "That was too easy," Elise's voice crackled over radio from the rear vehicle. She was right. 5 kilometers past the checkpoint, the ambush hit. Not militia uniformed soldiers, professional and efficient. Warning shots forced the convoy to stop as troops surrounded them with practiced precision. "Government forces," Khalid breathed. They must have been watching the checkpoint. A colonel approached Warren's vehicle, his uniform crisp despite the dust. "Mr. Mitchell, we've been expecting you." Warren's hand moved toward his concealed pistol, but the colonel raised a peaceful hand. "No need. We're not here to stop you, quite the opposite. The general wants to meet you." "Which general?" "The one whose grandson you evacuated from Aden last year. He'd like to discuss expanded cooperation." Warren felt the ground shifting beneath him. In Yemen, expanded cooperation meant choosing sides, and choosing sides meant becoming a target for everyone else. "The medical supplies need to reach Saada," he said carefully. "They will. My men will escort your trucks personally, but you come with me." It wasn't a request. Warren looked at Yasmin, seeing his own concerns reflected in her eyes. But what choice did they have? "Khalid, take the convoy through." "Doctor?" "Hakim." "Goes where you go," Yasmin interrupted. "Someone needs to keep you from making stupid decisions." The colonel smiled. "Your reputation precedes you, doctor. The general's wife suffers from diabetes. Perhaps you could consult while the men talk." And just like that, Warren's simple medical delivery had become a political chess match. As military vehicles surrounded his Land Cruiser, escorting them toward an uncertain meeting, he wondered if this was how his grandfather had felt watching simple plans spiral into complex realities. "Still think we should have taken the goat path?" Yasmin asked quietly. "Ask me after we meet this general," Warren replied. watching the medical trucks disappear towards Saada with their military escort. At least the insulin would get through. Everything else, his neutrality, his organization's independence, possibly his life, remained to be negotiated. The war was forcing him to choose, but Warren had learned from Veronica's betrayal that sometimes the most dangerous choices were the ones that looked safe. As they drove deeper into government territory, he prepared for whatever came next. After all, he'd survived his wife's treachery. How much worse could a general's ambitions be? The general's compound sprawled across a hillside like a fortress pretending to be a palace. After 3 hours of tense negotiations, Warren emerged with a deal that tasted like Ash's safe passage for YRN convoys in exchange for medical treatment at government facilities. Neutrality, it seemed, was a luxury Yemen no longer afforded. "You did what you had to," Yasmin said as they drove back to Sana'a through gathering dusk. "Those supply routes will save lives. And make us targets for the other side." Warren gripped the wheel tighter as they passed a checkpoint. "We've chosen a side, whether we meant to or not. We chose the side of whoever lets us help people. That's not politics, it's pragmatism." She was right, but it didn't ease the knot in Warren's stomach. Back at the compound, Sarah and Lucas rushed to greet them, their joy a balm against the day's compromises. "Aunt Yasmin!" Sarah grabbed the doctor's hand. "Amal taught us a new game. You throw stones at cans and I won!" Lucas interrupted. "3 times!" Warren watched Yasmin kneel to their level, genuinely engaged in their excited chatter. She'd been Aunt Yasmin for months now, but lately the title carried weight beyond courtesy. The children sought her approval, saved their best drawings for her, included her in their bedtime prayers. "Inside, both of you," Warren said gently. "Homework first, then dinner. But Daddy, no buts. Aunt Aisha is waiting." As the children scampered inside, Yasmin stood slowly, favoring her left leg. Warren noticed the grimace she tried to hide. "You're hurt, just bruised. That colonel's men weren't gentle getting us into the vehicles." "Let me see. Warren, I'm fine. Doctor, heal thyself?" He guided her to the courtyard bench. "You'd never let me get away with that." She relented, rolling up her pant leg to reveal an ugly bruise spreading across her shin. Warren retrieved the medical kit, his fingers gentle as he applied arnica gel. "This is becoming a habit," Yasmin observed. "You patching me up after our adventures go sideways. Maybe we should have fewer adventures. In Yemen? Might as well wish for snow in August." They sat in comfortable silence as twilight painted the sky purple. Somewhere in the city, explosions rumbled like distant thunder, but the compound walls created an illusion of peace. "I've been thinking about your offer," Yasmin said suddenly. "The field hospital in Marib." Warren's hands stilled. They'd discussed it weeks ago, a permanent medical facility in the contested city, staffed by YRN but serving anyone who needed help. It would require Yasmin to embed there for months, maybe longer. And it's insane. Marib's a war zone, the tribes don't trust outsiders, and the coalition bombs anything that looks like a military target. "So that's a no?" "That's a yes." She met his eyes directly. "Someone has to do it. Might as well be someone who knows what they're signing up for." "Yasmin, don't." She pulled her pant leg down, standing with only a slight wince. "Don't tell me it's too dangerous or that I should think of the children or any of the other perfectly logical reasons to say no. I've thought of them all." "I was going to say thank you." That stopped her. In the fading light, Warren could see surprise flicker across her features, followed by something warmer. "Oh, but I do have one condition," he continued. "You don't go alone. I'll assign Khalid as your security detail, and we rotate staff every 2 weeks. No heroes, no martyrs, just medicine." "Just medicine," she agreed. Then softer, "What about Sarah and Lucas? They've already lost their mother." "Their mother lost them," Warren corrected firmly. "There's a difference. And they haven't lost her anyway. Vanessa sends videos every week, even if Veronica can't be bothered to appear in them." "That's not what I meant." Warren knew what she meant. The children had grown attached to Yasmin in ways that went beyond their cheerful aunt title. Last week, Lucas had drawn a family picture. Warren, Sarah, himself, and Yasmin, all holding hands under a yellow sun. No bombs in his sky anymore. Just 4 figures standing together. "They're stronger than you think," Warren said. "They understand that helping people sometimes means being apart." "But Yasmin," he paused, choosing words carefully. "If you're staying in our lives and their lives, it can't be halfway. They've had enough people leave. I'm not Veronica. I know." The certainty in his own voice surprised him. "I've known that from the beginning." A moment stretched between them, fragile and important. Then Sarah's voice shattered it. "Daddy, Lucas put soap in the fish tank." "I did not." "Did too." Warren sighed, the spell broken. "Duty calls. Go." Yasmin smiled, and for a moment the bruises and exhaustion faded. "I'll start planning for Marib. We'll need surgical supplies, a generator that won't attract bombers, and someone who speaks the local dialect." She was already lost in logistics, the same focused intensity that had first caught Warren's attention. He headed inside to mediate the fish tank crisis, but paused at the door. "Yasmin? Have dinner with us tonight. Not a working dinner, just dinner." She looked up from her mental calculations. Like a family? Like people who care about each other figuring out what comes next. That sounds complicated. Everything here is complicated. Might as well eat while we sort it out. Her laugh was answer enough. Dinner became a new routine over the following weeks. Not every night their work made that impossible, but often enough that Lucas stopped asking if Aunt Yasmin was coming and started setting her place automatically. They talked about everything and nothing. Sarah's progress in Arabic, Lucas's conviction that he could train the compound cats, Warren's negotiations with tribal leaders, Yasmin's plans for the field hospital. "You know what this is, right?" Elise observed one evening, catching Warren as he prepared dinner for 4 instead of 3. "This domestic whatever you want to call it? It's dinner, Elise. People eat. People eat. Families share meals." She leaned against the counter, arms crossed. "I'm not judging. God knows you deserve some happiness after Hurricane Veronica. But Yasmin's not someone you can date casually. She's all in or all out." "Who said anything about dating?" "Right. Because you always cook lamb tagine for your purely professional colleagues." Warren focused on the spices, avoiding her knowing look. "The kids need stability. Yasmin provides that." "The kids. Sure." Elise's voice softened. "Warren, it's okay to want something for yourself, to admit you have feelings beyond revenge and humanitarian work." "I had feelings. They led to Veronica." "No, you had passion disguised as love. This thing with Yasmin, it's built on respect, shared values, mutual trust. That's the stuff that lasts." Speaking from experience, speaking as someone who's watched you rebuild yourself from rubble, don't let Veronica's ghost keep you from something real. Before Warren could respond, explosions shook the building. Not distant this time, close enough to rattle windows and trigger car alarms. Elise's radio crackled to life with urgent reports. "Airstrike on the electronics market," she translated rapidly. "Multiple casualties. Fires spreading." Warren was already moving. "Get the trauma kits. Alert the team." "Warren, it's too fresh. There could be secondary strikes." But he was gone, racing toward the medical storage. Yasmin met him there, already loading supplies with practiced efficiency. "I heard," she said simply. "How many bags?" "All of them. This is going to be bad." They worked in synchronized silence, the domestic warmth of minutes ago replaced by clinical focus. This was their reality-stolen moments of normalcy between catastrophes, building something beautiful in a land determined to burn. "I'll take the surgical supplies," Yasmin said as they loaded the vehicles. "You focus on triage." "Together," Warren corrected. "We do this together or not at all." She paused, understanding the weight of that word. Together, not just for tonight's horror, but for whatever came after. "Together," she agreed. As they raced toward the burning market, Warren thought about Elise's words. Maybe she was right. Maybe it was okay to want something beyond survival and service. Maybe in the midst of war and loss, 2 damaged people could build something worth protecting. The flames ahead painted the night orange, and Warren pushed aside tomorrow's possibilities to focus on tonight's necessities. There would be time later to explore what together meant, if they survived. For now, there was only the work, and the woman beside him who understood that sometimes the work was all that kept you sane. Everything else, the growing feelings, the children's attachment, the future taking shape in quiet moments would have to wait. But for the first time since Veronica's betrayal, waiting felt like promise instead of penance. The manuscript felt heavier than its 300 pages should warrant. Warren set it on the publisher's desk in Amman, Jordan, watching dust motes dance in afternoon sunlight that didn't carry the threat of sniper fire. 6 months had passed since the government deal, 2 months since they'd evacuated to Jordan when the fighting made even their compound unsafe. Blood in the Sand, A Humanitarian's Journey Through Yemen, the publisher read aloud. Powerful title, but this chapter about your ex-wife stays in, Warren said firmly. The whole truth or nothing. It's explosive. A British diplomat, adultery, hidden millions. This will make headlines worldwide. Good. Maybe it'll help other men recognize the signs before it's too late. The publisher, a shrewd woman named Huda, flipped through pages with manicured nails. You name names. Wesley Cunningham won't be happy. Wesley Cunningham destroyed his own life. I'm just documenting it. And your ex-wife? She could sue. Let her try. Warren pulled out a legal document. She signed away any claim to privacy in our divorce settlement. My lawyer was very thorough. Huda smiled like a cat spotting cream. This will sell 1 million copies. The betrayal, the hidden fortune, the humanitarian work, it's cinematic. Hollywood will come calling. They can call, doesn't mean I'll answer. Warren left the meeting with a publication date and a strange sense of completion. The book wasn't revenge, he'd had that at the embassy gala. This was testimony, evidence that good could emerge from betrayal's ashes. The apartment in Amman felt too quiet after Yemen's constant chaos. Sarah and Lucas had adapted with children's resilience, making friends at their international school. But Warren caught them staring south sometimes, toward the country that had shaped them. Daddy, when can we go home? Lucas asked that evening, pushing hummus around his plate. Yemen isn't safe right now, buddy. But our real home, with the cats and Amal and the big warehouse where we help people. This is our home now, Sarah said with 80-year-old authority. Aunt Yasmin said home is where your family is. When's Aunt Yasmin coming back? 3 more days, Warren assured them. Yasmin had stayed in Yemen an extra week to train her replacement at the Marib hospital, despite Warren's protests. She's making sure the doctors know how to help people when she's gone. Will she live with us? Lucas's question carried hope worn thin by experience. Like a real aunt? Warren chose his words carefully. We'll see. Aunt Yasmin has her own apartment here. That's dumb. She should stay with us. We have room. From the mouths of babes. Warren changed the subject, but Lucas's simple logic haunted him through the evening routine. They did have room, not just physical space, but emotional vacancy waiting to be filled. Later, after bedtime stories and prayers, Warren sat on his balcony overlooking Amman's twinkling lights. His laptop showed 17 emails from journalists wanting interviews about the book. Someone had leaked excerpts, and the humanitarian community was buzzing. His phone rang. Vanessa's name appeared on the screen. Tell me you didn't dedicate a whole chapter to Veronica's meltdown, she said without preamble. Hello to you too. How's Seattle? Wet, cold, full of people who think suffering is when the barista gets their order wrong. Answer the question. I told the truth. All of it. A sigh crackled through the connection. She's going to lose it, again. You know that, right? How is she? Sober. 90 days yesterday. Dating some tech guy who thinks her stories about Yemen are exotic. Working at a clinic, keeping her head down. This book could undo all of that. Warren felt a familiar pang. Not love, not anymore, but the ghost of responsibility. I changed her name, and the book's not about her. It's about the work, the people we saved, the wife who betrayed you. Come on, Warren. I've read the excerpts floating around. You paint her as Lady Macbeth meets desperate housewives. I paint her as human, flawed, selfish, ultimately destructive, but human. Yeah, well, humans have feelings, and lawyers. She signed. I know what she signed. I'm not saying don't publish. I'm saying brace yourself. And maybe give her a heads up? Let her prepare? Warren watched a plane's lights blink across the sky, probably heading somewhere people didn't measure time between explosions. I'll think about it. How are my favorite kids? Growing, adapting, asking hard questions about permanence. Yasmin? Still in Yemen for 3 more days. That's not what I asked. Warren smiled despite himself. It's complicated. Love usually is. Don't let Veronica's poison keep you from, we should video call tomorrow. The kids miss you. Coward. Fine, dodge the feelings talk. But Warren, you deserve to be happy. So does Yasmin. So do those kids. Stop overthinking and just be. After they hung up, Warren sat in darkness, wrestling with the past and future. The book would stir up everything he'd tried to bury, but maybe that was necessary. Maybe healing required lancing old wounds. His phone buzzed. A text from Yasmin. Hospital handover complete. On tomorrow's convoy to Amman. Can't wait to see the kids. Just the kids? Warren typed back, then deleted it. Too much. Too soon. They've been counting days. Safe travels. Always. How did the publisher meeting go? She wants to make me a bestseller. You already are to everyone you've saved. Warren smiled at her words. Yasmin had read the manuscript, including the chapters about Veronica. Her only comment had been, she was a fool to throw away what she had. Get some rest, he typed. Long drive tomorrow. You too. Tell Sarah and Lucas I'm bringing surprises. You'll spoil them. Someone should. Good night, Warren. Good night, Yasmin. Warren stayed on the balcony, laptop open to a blank page. The publisher wanted an epilogue, something hopeful to balance the darkness. But how could he write an ending to a story still unfolding? He began typing. War teaches many lessons, but perhaps the most important is this. Resilience isn't about becoming harder. It's about staying soft enough to feel, to hope, to trust again after trust has been shattered. My children taught me this. The people we served taught me this. And slowly, carefully, someone new is teaching me that hearts can be rebuilt stronger than before. He stopped, deleted the paragraph. Too soon, too revealing. The story of Yasmin, whatever they were becoming, deserved its own telling, in its own time. Instead, he wrote about the children they'd saved, the families reunited, the small victories against overwhelming odds. He wrote about choosing purpose over bitterness, service over self-pity. He wrote about his children's resilience and the found family they'd built from necessity and choice. The epilogue flowed, honest without being maudlin, hopeful without ignoring reality's sharp edges. As dawn painted Amman's hills gold, Warren finally wrote the last line. In the end, wealth isn't measured in hidden millions or lost fortunes. It's counted in lives saved, children's laughter, and the courage to build something beautiful where others see only ruins. My ex-wife sought treasure in another man's promises. I found it in the ashes she left behind. Warren saved the file, sent it to the publisher, and went to wake his children for school. Tomorrow, Yasmin would return. Next month, the book would launch. Somewhere in Seattle, Veronica would learn that her secrets were becoming public knowledge. But today, there were lunches to pack, homework to check, and 2 children who needed to know they were loved. Everything else, the complicated feelings, the uncertain future, the weight of exposure could wait. Warren Mitchell had learned to measure time in small mercies. Today's mercy was simple. His family was safe. Help was coming home. And somewhere in the space between heartbreak and healing, life continued its stubborn blooming. It was enough. More than enough. It was everything. The Geneva conference hall hummed with the subdued energy of people who'd seen too much discussing problems too large for easy solutions. 2 years had passed since the book's release. 18 months since Warren had become a reluctant celebrity in humanitarian circles. He adjusted his tie, still uncomfortable in formal wear after years of tactical gear, and scanned the crowd for familiar faces. Mitchell! Warren turned to find a ghost from his past. Wesley Cunningham stood 10 feet away, designer suit hanging loose on a frame that had shed its diplomatic polish. His eyes, once bright with arrogant charm, now carried the dull weight of sustained failure. Wesley. Warren kept his voice neutral, professional. Around them, conference attendees pretended not to notice the tension. I heard you were working with refugee organizations now. Consulting, Wesley corrected, the word bitter on his tongue. Turns out former diplomats with scandal attached don't get the best positions. He attempted his old smile, but it cracked at the edges. Your book made quite sure of that. You made your choices. I just documented them. Right. The noble humanitarian. Wesley stepped closer, voice dropping. Do you know what happened after? My wife took the children back to her parents. Haven't seen them in 2 years. Can't get a position anywhere respectable. Living off consulting fees and watching my life become a cautionary tale. Warren felt no satisfaction in Wesley's downfall, only a tired recognition of waste. You had everything. Good position, family, respect. You threw it away for what? The thrill of conquest? Says the man who hid millions while his wife shopped in souks. To protect them. You endangered my family for your ego. Wesley's facade finally crumbled. I loved her. No, you loved the idea of her. Another man's wife, forbidden fruit. The moment she was available, you ran. The embassy recalled. The embassy gave you options. You chose the easy exit. Warren checked his watch. If you'll excuse me, I'm speaking on a panel in 10 minutes. Warren. Wesley's voice stopped him. In your book, you wrote that everyone deserves a second chance. Did you mean that? Warren turned back, seeing not the man who'd nearly destroyed his family, but a hollow shell living with consequences. I meant it. But second chances aren't given, they're earned. Start with your children. Write to them. Apologize. Show up, even when they reject you. Do the work. Like you did? Like I'm trying to do. Warren left Wesley standing there and made his way to the panel on Innovation in Crisis Response. Yasmin waited at the speaker's table, professional in her WHO credentials, but smiling warmly when she saw him. They'd been married 6 months, a quiet ceremony in Jordan with just the children, Elise, Vanessa, and a handful of close friends. Everything okay, she murmured as he took his seat. Just ghosts. Tell you later. The panel went smoothly, Warren discussing supply chain innovations while Yasmin covered medical protocols in conflict zones. They fielded questions about Yemen, about their organization's evolution, about working as a married couple in humanitarian efforts. The key, Yasmin told one questioner, is remembering that the work brought us together, but it's not what keeps us together. That's a choice we make daily, independent of external pressures. After the panel, they had 30 minutes before the next session. Warren pulled out his phone to find 3 missed calls from Vanessa and a text. Call me. It's about V. His stomach clenched. Yasmin, I need to... Go. I'll make your excuses for the round table. Warren found a quiet corner and dialed. Vanessa answered on the first ring. She's sick, Warren. Really sick. Kidney failure. Apparently she's been hiding symptoms for months. Too proud or too scared to tell anyone. How bad? She needs a transplant soon. I'm getting tested for compatibility, but... Vanessa's voice cracked. She's been asking for you. Not the kids, she knows that bridge is burned. But you... Warren closed his eyes, seeing Veronica as she'd been young, vibrant, ready to follow him anywhere. Before Yemen, before Wesley, before everything went wrong. Where is she? Seattle General, room 4012. Warren, you don't owe her anything. I just thought you should know. I'll see what I can do about getting tested. For the kids' sake, they should have the option of knowing their mother someday. You're a better person than most. No. Just someone who's learned that holding on to anger is like drinking poison. Warren found Yasmin between sessions and explained. She listened without judgment, then kissed his cheek. Go, she said simply. The kids and I will be fine for a few days. Yasmin. She's Sarah and Lucas's mother. That makes her family, however fractured. We take care of family. This was why he loved her, not despite her understanding, but because of it. 2 days later, Warren stood outside room 4012, holding flowers he wasn't sure why he'd bought. Through the window, he could see Veronica thin, pale, but still recognizable. She was reading something on her phone, probably the news stories about his Geneva presentation. He knocked and entered. Veronica looked up, and for a moment, neither spoke. You came, she said finally. Vanessa called. I told her not to. Veronica set down her phone with trembling hands. But I'm glad she did. I needed to say things. Before. You're going to be fine. They'll find a donor, Warren. His name on her lips stopped him. Can we skip the comfort lies? I'm scared. I'm sick. And I've wasted so much time. He sat in the visitor's chair, flowers forgotten in his lap. What do you need to say? I'm sorry. The words came out rushed, like she'd been holding them too long. Not the pretty apology I sent through lawyers. Really sorry. For Wesley, for trying to take the kids, for being so angry about the money. Veronica, I read your book, cover to cover, 3 times. She laughed, a broken sound. You were saving lives while I was shopping for attention. You were protecting us while I was planning escape routes. I was so stupid. You were unhappy. Yemen was hard. Yemen was hard for everyone. You channeled it into purpose. I channeled it into selfishness. She met his eyes directly. I destroyed our family because I couldn't see past my own wants. Warren set the flowers on her bedside table. We both made mistakes. I should have been more transparent about the money, about the stress you were under. Don't take blame that isn't yours. She shifted, wincing. How are they? The kids. Warren pulled out his phone, showing recent photos. Sarah at a science fair, Lucas playing soccer, both children laughing at Yasmin's attempt to cook American pancakes. They're beautiful, Veronica whispered. And happy. That's Yasmin? My wife, yes. She's lovely. The kids look at her like... She didn't finish, but Warren knew, like they looked at a mother. They ask about you sometimes. I tell them you're working on getting better. Better. Veronica traced Sarah's face on the screen. I've been sober 18 months. Therapy twice a week. Volunteering at a women's shelter, trying to be someone they might not be ashamed of someday. I'm getting tested, Warren said suddenly. For compatibility. If I match, no. The refusal was sharp. I won't take anything else from you. You've given enough. It's not for you. It's for them. They deserve the chance to know you if they choose. The real you, not the person you were in Yemen. Veronica started crying then, silent tears that seemed to exhaust her. Warren handed her tissues, sitting quietly until she composed herself. I loved you once, she said. Really loved you. Before it all got twisted. I know. I loved you too. Past tense for both of us. She smiled sadly. At least we gave each other Sarah and Lucas. They're worth all of it. Warren stayed another hour talking about safe topics, Seattle rain, her work at the shelter, his plans for expanding operations into Syria. When visiting hours ended, Veronica caught his hand. If I don't make it, you will. If I don't, tell them I love them. Tell them I got better, even if it was too late. Tell them their mother finally learned what actually mattered. Tell them yourself, when you're ready, when they're ready. Warren left the hospital and called Yasmin from his rental car. How was it? She asked. Necessary, sad, final, in a way. Are you okay? Yeah, I think I am. Seeing her like that. It closed something. The anger's gone. There's just this tired hope that she'll find peace. Come home, Warren. The kids miss you. I miss you. Home. Jordan wasn't Yemen, but Yasmin and the children made it home. I'll catch the morning flight. Hug them for me. Always. Warren sat in the Seattle rain, thinking about cycles and choices. Tomorrow he'd be tested, would likely donate a kidney to the woman who'd tried to destroy him, not from love or obligation, but from understanding that sometimes grace was the only thing that broke the patterns. His phone buzzed. A photo from Yasmin, Sarah, and Lucas building a blanket fort, their faces bright with mischief. Waiting for Daddy, the caption read. Warren smiled, started the car, and drove toward his hotel. The past would always exist, scars and lessons learned hard, but the future his children, Yasmin, the work that gave it all meaning that was worth any price, even forgiveness. The auditorium at Columbia University was packed beyond capacity. Warren adjusted the microphone, looking out at hundreds of faces, students, aid workers, curious readers of his trilogy of books on humanitarian work. In the front row sat his family. Sarah, now 18 and bound for pre-med at Johns Hopkins. Lucas, 16 with his father's quiet intensity and his mother's compassion. And Yasmin, silver threading through her hair but still radiant with the purpose that had drawn him years ago. 10 years ago, Warren began, I stood in the ruins of my marriage, in a country tearing itself apart, convinced I'd lost everything. I was wrong. He clicked to the first slide, a photo of Yemen's destroyed buildings juxtaposed with one of their newest hospital in Syria, built from the same philosophy of finding hope in rubble. Loss, real loss, teaches you what actually has value. My ex-wife, he paused, noting the audience's anticipation. They all knew the story, had read the books, followed the headlines. My ex-wife taught me, through her choices and their consequences, that wealth isn't what you hide, it's what you share. The presentation continued, showcasing YRN's evolution from a small operation to a major humanitarian organization operating in 12 countries. Warren shared stories of lives saved, families reunited, impossible odds overcome through determination and strategic thinking. We've trained over 3,000 local medical staff, he said, clicking through photos of proud graduates. Built 47 clinics in areas larger organizations deemed too dangerous. Delivered supplies worth millions to people who measure wealth in days of survival. A student raised her hand. Mr. Mitchell, your first book dealt extensively with betrayal and revenge. Do you regret exposing your ex-wife's actions so publicly? Warren had fielded this question 100 times, but it still required thought. I regret that pain became public, but sunlight remains the best disinfectant. That book funded our first 3 clinics and, more importantly, started conversations about trust, betrayal, and redemption that needed to happen. Is it true she received your kidney? Another student asked. Medical privacy prevents me from discussing specifics. What I can say is that forgiveness isn't a feeling, it's a practice. Daily choices to let go of poison, to wish well for those who wished you harm. Even Wesley Cunningham? Warren smiled. Mr. Cunningham now runs a small NGO helping divorced fathers maintain relationships with their children. People can change given opportunity and motivation. More questions followed about Yemen, about managing family life in war zones, about his marriage to Yasmin. Warren answered honestly, weaving personal growth with professional insights. Dr. Mitchell, he said, gesturing to Yasmin, runs our medical operations with a 94% success rate in conflict zones. She'll tell you that percentage comes from one simple principle: respect local knowledge, empower local people. Yasmin stood briefly, waving off applause. She hated spotlight but understood its necessity for fundraising and awareness. As the event wound down, Warren delivered his closing thoughts. My grandfather made millions from oil. I've spent those millions cleaning up messes in oil-rich nations. There's poetry in that, perhaps, but the real lesson is simpler. Your greatest tragedy can become your greatest teacher if you let it. He clicked to the final slide, a photo from last year. Veronica, healthy now 5 years post-transplant, sitting in a Seattle park with Sarah and Lucas. The visit had been awkward, painful at times, but necessary. The children had needed to see their biological mother as human, flawed but trying. They'd returned to Jordan with questions answered and ghosts laid to rest. My ex-wife lives quietly now, counseling women in difficult marriages. My children have 2 mothers, one who gave them life, one who gives them daily love. I have work that matters and a partner who makes me better. None of this looked possible from the ashes of that embassy gala. But ashes fertilize new growth. Betrayal can teach trust's value. Loss can clarify what's worth keeping. He paused, meeting his children's eyes. And sometimes the family you build from broken pieces is stronger than the one you lost. The applause was warm, sustained. Warren signed books for an hour, each person sharing their own story of resilience or asking advice about entering humanitarian work. Sarah and Lucas helped, proud of their father, but also gently teasing him about his professor voice. Finally, the family escaped to a quiet restaurant near campus. Over Lebanese food that reminded them of Jordan, they debriefed the evening. You didn't mention the time Mom Veronica tried to have you arrested for kidnapping, Lucas observed, using the careful distinction they'd all adopted. Some stories don't need retelling, Warren replied. She was sick then, in ways we didn't understand. I'm glad she's better, Sarah said quietly. And I'm glad she's there, not here. Sarah, Yasmin gently chided. What? I'm being honest. She's my biological mother, and I respect that. But you're my mom, the one who stayed. Yasmin blinked back tears, reaching for Sarah's hand. The adoption had been finalized 3 years ago, but moments like this still caught her off guard. Enough heavy talk, Warren declared. Lucas, tell them about the soccer tournament. The conversation shifted to normal family things, sports, college plans, Yasmin's research paper on trauma surgery in resource-limited settings. Normal, precious mundanity that Warren never took for granted. Later, in their hotel room, Yasmin curled against Warren's side. Good speech tonight. You almost made Betrayal sound like a gift. Wasn't it? Warren pulled her closer. Without Veronica's choices, I'd never have found you. We'd never have built YRN into what it is. Sarah and Lucas wouldn't have the perspective they do. Expensive gift. The best ones usually are. Yasmin traced patterns on his chest, a habit from their early days. She looked good in that photo. Healthy, almost happy. She's trying. That's all anyone can do. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if she'd never met Wesley? Warren considered. We'd have limped along for a few more years, maybe. But the cracks were there before him. He was just the catalyst. And now? Now I have everything I actually wanted, just not how I imagined getting it. He kissed her forehead. Thank you. For understanding about the book tour, about the kids seeing Veronica, about all of it. We're partners, Yasmin said simply. In everything. They lay in comfortable silence. City lights painting patterns through the curtains. Tomorrow they'd fly back to Jordan, then on to Syria for the new clinic opening. Sarah would start college in the fall. Lucas had 2 more years before his own launch. Life would continue its relentless forward motion. But tonight, Warren Mitchell, humanitarian, author, father, husband, felt the rare satisfaction of a life well lived. Not perfect, scarred in places that would always ache in certain weather, but purposeful. His ex-wife had thought him poor, had betrayed him for the promise of something better. She'd been right about one thing: he had been poor in understanding what real wealth looked like. Now he knew. It looked like Sarah's determination to become a doctor, Lucas's quiet strength, Yasmin's unwavering partnership. It looked like thousands of children alive because his grandfather's oil money had transformed into medical supplies. It looked like forgiveness given and received, second chances seized, and the daily choice to build rather than burn. Warren smiled in the darkness, pulled his wife closer, and slept the sleep of a man who'd lost everything and discovered it had cleared space for what actually mattered. The end was really just another beginning, and that perhaps was the greatest plot twist of all.